outside of 7:30 to 3:30. All right, there are a lot of challenges to make a kid successful in the classroom. We need to do better there. All right, and I was talking about leadership. We've got to give our principals the skills to be able to manage a 21st century classroom. All right, that means we've got to be doing more than what we're doing to support them. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to talk to you about my vision and why I'm in this race. So with that, I'll just turn it over to you guys and we can jump into some questions and hopefully some more of the candidates come.
Awesome, awesome. Well, you're going to have 2 minutes to respond to each question. And we have a timekeeper up front so that you can see him. But the first question, we'll start with you, Ms. Watson, is what do you see as being the most pressing issue with the schools?
I think the most pressing issue with the school board is education, funding. There needs to be more funding at the table so that the Birmingham school system can be competitive along with other educational curriculums. I think that is a major problem, bringing the academics up to a certain level. We need to focus on the education for the child. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Millsap?
Well, funding's definitely an issue. We saw the city council's budget come out, and it does look like they've at least proposed some more money for the schools, which I think is a good thing. I think it may have seen some cuts in some other areas. But most important right now, and I said it at the beginning, it's the leadership board. All right, we cannot have a revolving door of superintendents. That is the CEO of the system. All right, when they come in and they're getting kicked out every 12 months and they bring somebody new in, we're not going to have good people applying for that job going forward. We have to give a leader time to execute a vision to let the kids succeed. All right, too much infighting among the board, too many personal problems, so we've got to invest in the superintendent first. If we don't do that, nothing else matters. All right, so that's number one. Dr. Herring, I know it was a little bit contentious, right? We all know the process may not have been perfect, but we've got to give her the time to execute her vision, and if we do that, I think we have the opportunity to be successful, and from that, other good things can come.
Sorry, I wasn't able to introduce myself earlier. I had to deal with our technical difficulties. We'll go through and why don't you give us your thoughts on charter schools, since that is a hot topic, and we'll just reverse order again.
Sure. All right, so this is going to be the most important issue. We're going to hear it at every candidate forum that we come to. First things first, we have got to strengthen our existing schools. That's the number one priority of anybody sitting on this board, is to make sure that we're making all of our schools great. But here's what concerns me. All right, the charter school law is here. Star Academy went through, didn't make much of an effort in front of the Birmingham Board of Education, knowing that they were going to reject it, and then they went off to the state to get approval. That means that money and those students are now under the control of the state. I don't think that's a good outcome for us either. So you're electing a school board, you're electing people to be leaders. I could stand up here and tell you what you want to hear. Charters are awful, and I'm totally against them. But look, I'm an entrepreneur, right? That's my background, that's what I know. I'm going to look at anything that comes before us and at least evaluate it and see if it might be something that's good for students, teachers, and families. All right, if it's not up to snuff, we kick it out. But, right, if we just come up here and say unequivocally we're going to say no to everything, that's not leadership, that's not innovation, all right, that's abdicating leadership. So at the very least, I will consider anything that comes before us. But number one is strengthening our schools. I'm not for charter, I'm not against charter. I'm for anything that helps kids.
Charter schools, they have their pros and they have their cons. I know people personally, and you may as well, know people who have who have attended charter schools and gone on to be productive members of society. So in those cases, the charter school system did work for them. However, I don't think a charter school is Birmingham ready just yet. I think that there needs to be a little more study a little more trial and error before we actually introduce it into the Birmingham school system, because my understanding is that here we are back to funding, and funding is important for anything. If the kids lose the funding to a charter school, then what happens to the kids of Birmingham School Board, and so that is my platform to work on behalf of the schools, well, the children, because I'm the children's advocate on behalf of them for the Birmingham School Board. That's where I am. Thank you.
Thank you. So our next question, what would you want the state legislator to change to help improve our Birmingham schools?
Am I first?
Sure.
Oh, repeat the question, I'm sorry.
What would you want the state legislator to change to help improve Birmingham schools?
I would like the state legislature to change the funding that is given to the Birmingham school system. We need more funding. And we need funding on a competitive level. You know, every school gets its funding, but you know, statistics show that some schools get more funding than others. And Birmingham public schools are already on the low totem pole in terms of academics, but the more funding they can get, the more they can address certain issues and provide certain courses and curriculums to bring them up so that they can become competitive with other schools, the Hoovers, the Vestavias, and the others. So that's my point. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would say funding also. And when I think about funding, it's the difference between quality and equity. All right, we fund our schools equally, but it's not equitable. In other words, if every school from Mountain Brook to Birmingham City Schools gets the same allocation per child, excuse me, we know that there are schools that have bigger challenges and need more resources per child. If the state would fix the way that we actually do the funding, we could get those resources to the schools that need it the most. So funding.
Thank you.
All right, candidates, how do you propose to work with your city councilor for your district to improve the school system, and in doing so, what things do you want to emphasize with them in terms of a relationship with the city?
How would I like to?
Yeah, whoever is going to be the District 5 counselor, how do you propose to work with them, and how would you like to build a better relationship with the city council?
Well, I know all of the candidates running, and I've already developed a relationship with them, so I hope to continue that relationship. Good luck to whomever wins. Relationship is key. I would first make certain that I am on board with the superintendent, because she is the most important. I typically would work for her, and on her recommendation, then I would approach the city council as an order, and then approach the mayor. I would just like to build a good relationship so that we all can get together. And hopefully, if I built that relationship, I would ask city council if they could, what's my word? Funding. What's the word?
Funding.
Funding. Gotta have it. Thank you.
Funding, no, I'm just kidding. But it is actually an important one, and I said it at the outset, right? The city council has finally allocated, you know, Birmingham as an urban city gets less than any other city of its stature, from the city into the school system. That's got to change. And again, it was an odd budget, a lot of stuff cut from police and other things, so we need to look at that. But that's an important thing to work with District 5 on. Second thing is, part of being on the school board and being on the city council is actually access to the people in your district, right? Having your phone number out there. What if the city councilman and the school board member actually went out to schools and did town halls together to meet the students and the families, to hear their concerns and the things that they needed? Too often we think that our leaders, they think they have all the answers. We got to talk to the folks. So for me, it's building that relationship, having, very similar kind of styles and goals, so that when we go out into the community, we're speaking with one voice. I think we can all agree that City Hall, the school board, hasn't always been all the adults in the room. We got to build those relationships and have everybody working together, because it's about one Birmingham, one group of kids, right? We're not all fighting against each other. We all want the same thing. We want better opportunities for our kids and better opportunities and better jobs for our citizens. So let's work together to do it.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Millsap, we're going to start with you on the next one.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on the career academies and how would you like to strengthen them?
Yeah, this is actually a really great question, and I was talking with some folks about it today. They're a good start. I get a lot of questions about vocational training, and do we need to enhance that and improve it? And I think the answer to that is absolutely yes. The career academies are a good start. They're we want to see immediate results from everything. Again, I go back to I'm an entrepreneur. We test, we try things, see what works, and then improve what's not working, right? That's kind of where I feel we are with the academies. We've got some work to do in terms of more 21st century job skills. More coding, more software development, more stuff in graphic design, stuff where the jobs are. So the academies don't all necessarily address that. I think they're a good start, but we've got a lot of room to improve them.
Thank you. Ms. Watson?
Career academies. Again, I think career academies have their place because each and every one of us, we learn on different levels. Everyone in this room may not, you may, but may not be academically savvy to attend college or to go beyond college to receive your master's and your doctorate and so on and so forth. So having your own in case you're fired, I mean, it happens every day. People are fired from a job and then they have to go and find another one. If you are of a certain age level, you might be, young to yourself, but too old in comparison to the IT savvy kids, I won't say kids, students that are coming along today. It's competitive out there. I believe in the academy to teach homegrown businesses, something that you can survive on your own in case you didn't make it through corporate America, because everybody's not going to be the college professor. Everybody's not going to be the moderator, and so on and so forth. So I believe in preparing our children to always have something to back up on, be it lawn care. Everybody gets their lawn care taken care of. There are jobs out there. We just have to create them. Thank you.
All right, yet again, we'll reverse the order, just keep going. Ms. Watson, how do you propose to involve business and industry in the development of future curriculum for the school system?
Business and entity?
Industry.
Industry in the curriculum? By partnering with the students, or students of the Birmingham school system, partnering with corporations such as Alabama Power, Southern Research, Southern Progress, the Birmingham Waterworks. I think at current, most of those companies already have a program set up, and it may be something along the lines of new leadership, new Birmingham leadership, or the junior league, programs like that. And each company has some type of program where they partner or nurture a high school student coming along. That it?
No, it's your question. You can answer as long as you want.
Oh, yeah.
Well, up to 2 minutes.
Okay. Quick, you have any questions in my 2 minutes? Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Millsap?
Okay, thank you.
So the question was, how do we work with businesses and external entities?
Yes, business and industry to develop the future curriculum.
So first and foremost, I want to know what Dr. Herring's plans are to do public-private partnerships. I think they're essential. The district is taxed. We've talked about funding, I don't know, 15 times since we've been up here. To be able to bring the resources of our business leaders to come in, not only work one-on-one with the kids, but mentor them is essential. I do a lot of work with the Birmingham Education Foundation. That does a lot of, I've been volunteering with them, know a lot of their folks that I do a lot of work in education with, and they do a lot of great work bringing industry in to meet the kids, to mentor them, and to work with them. It's essential. But again, at the end of the day, the role of the board is to support the CEO. That's Dr. Herring. So I want to know what her vision is for that. And when she tells me we need to go get public-private partnerships, I work in the entrepreneurial community in Birmingham. I know those business leaders. We'll bring them in. If that's not her vision, then we'll sit down and talk about what it is that she does need. But I think public-private partnerships, when you have a district that is financially taxed, are essential. We've got to bring outside resources into the classroom.
Awesome. And Mr. Millsap, I'm going to start with you on this one. And this is a twofold question.
Okay.
One, how can we improve communication with parents and the public? And what can the school system do to help parents be more involved with the outcomes of their children?
That's important. When I was a high school teacher in Sumter County, Alabama, that was a huge part of my approach to my classroom. Not just getting to build relationships with my students, but getting out and getting to meet their families, understanding the challenges that they had. That's a huge part of this process. I'm going to go back to something the Birmingham Education Foundation does. They started this about a year and a half ago. They're called Network Nights. And the idea is they go into a school in Birmingham City Schools, they invite the students, they invite community leaders, they invite parents, and everybody gets together and has a conversation about what's going on in their community, what can be improved in their school. So I think looking at examples of programs like that and saying, how can we expand them, what's working well with that, that's the kind of stuff I want to continue to invest in. So yeah, I mean, I think we talked about it earlier in terms of the city council having a relationship, actually making yourself visible. I'm on the school board to serve. It doesn't make me important. It doesn't make me anybody special. I'm out there to serve at the pleasure of the parents, students, and teachers. So it's getting out into the community, being present, and just being there talking.
Thank you.
How to improve relationships.
How to improve communication, and what can the system do to help parents be more involved in the outcomes of their children?
What can the parents do to, the last part of the question?
What can the system do, the school system do to help parents become more involved in the outcomes of their children?
Parents involved. Okay, first of all, I think in order to have a productive child, and to have that child to be a productive member of society, they need interaction with parents. You know, the initial learning always begins at home. And then when you think about it, at the end of the day, a teacher spends more waking hours with our children than literally we do as parents. So I would try to encourage a parent-teacher-child engagement, maybe having, well, you know, you see it on the commercials where parents dress up and have come as you are day and tell your story. I used to enjoy that type class. When I was going to my daughter's classes, at that time I was a Birmingham police officer, and all the kids just, when I came in, and they all would remember me, and they'd say, "Can we touch a gun? Can we touch a taser?" In my mind, I was thinking, well, I just came to teach them about, you know, safety and, you know, how to be kind to a police officer, and that all police officers are not bad. But they were so interested in what I had to offer that they, you know, the kids would interact with their parents and say, "Okay, Mom, what are you coming to do? So-and-so's mom came as a police officer." So it became a competitive game, and it was a great deal of interaction. And even before the next school year began, someone always said, "Are you coming back next year? You gonna bring your gun?" So anyways, that's my answer. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Watson, we'll begin with you for the next question. Given the contentiousness in recent history within the board itself, how do you propose to build a stronger, more cohesive board, better relationship with your fellow board members?
I would like to create a better relationship with my fellow board members. I call them my fellow board members because I have already claimed the seat. Yes. Just to build relationships. Relationships are key. And you know, you have to coexist with people just in living out in society. And in order to work together to be productive as one, we have to put our personal differences aside and then come forward as a team. Because if you're on a softball team, baseball team, cheerleading squad, whatever that is, you're out to win as a team. Not one person can stand out. Now, the board as a team, working as a team, would support the superintendent. I repeat, support the superintendent on what she brings to the table. We can approve it or choose to disapprove it, but we would all work as one. Thank you.
Mr. Millsap?
So in the last 6 years of my career, I've done a lot of work working with innovative programs and educators that have innovative ideas around the country, both here in Birmingham and across the country. There's a really good model for this actually, because I think we all know the board has not been working and playing well together. Nashville just went through this. They brought in a new superintendent, had a new board. They made they're very sincere about coming together, working to speak with one voice. They brought in some outside help to help them do that, to help build team. I think that's a really good model that's close by that we can look at. But if that fails, I'll probably just have everybody over to the house for barbecue, because I think that's the best way to kind of get these things started. Can I make a pretty mean barbecue? No, I'm kidding. But no, most important, she's right. It's about building teams, speaking with one voice, and I think this is the most important thing that's been lacking. Yes, we represent District 5 and we represent the 4 schools in District 5. We've got to stop thinking that way. We've got to start thinking about Birmingham City Schools as a whole and doing what's best for the entire system. And if we can start doing that, the infighting among each other might just calm down a little bit, and we might be thinking about the kids first.
Thank you. Okay, so now we're going to open it up for audience questions. Do we have a question from the audience? Yes, sir.
Okay. You stated earlier that trying to press this for funds. How would either one of you go about that? Get funding for the schools?
How would they go about getting funding for the schools?
Yes.
I think we want to say like specific proposals for funding.
Specific proposals for funding?
Yes.
Well, you know, Google does everything for people nowadays. Pardon me?
I'm asking you about what you.
What I could do?
Yes, ma'am. I'm asking your point about how you go about it, not Google, but you.
Well, I would.
Mr. Mills.
Okay. But at the same token, I would go to Google to find out who I need to get in contact with and, you know, find out their email, their contact information, and set up a meeting and go and talk with who is in charge of the funding. That's, for me, that's how I have done all of my projects in the past. I've had to make a one-on-one communication first with the person who is holding the funds.
Yes, ma'am. But still, I would like to know your interpretation of your funding. How would you do things to deal with
Is it just me?
No, ma'am. It's not you. It's he also. I'm asking questions.
I think he's asking for
question.
specifics on how you want to increase funding for the school.
How would I like to specifically increase funding?
Yes.
Go to the state representatives and encourage them to give more funding to the city of Birmingham. Is it me? I mean, that's how it's done. They have the money. We have to go partner and make relationships, build relationships with them, and explain to them why Birmingham would need the funding over a Hoover school or another school. Because in anything, it's all about relationships.
Well, that's what I was asking.
Yes, it's all about relationships and pleading your case. And I've been good at pleading cases.
Would you give us an example how you would plead your case?
To a legislature?
Yes.
Well, I think, are you familiar with the statistics of the Birmingham school system?
We just want you to give us an answer of what you would do. I mean, you said you would Google, so that sort of changed the conversation a little bit. So I think that just an answer of how you would go about, not just necessarily how you find the name of someone, but your strategy of what you want to ask for and what you would do with it.
I would go and ask for the appropriate funding once I have done my research through Google to find out where the funding is. See, that's what you have to, for me, in any of fundraisers that I've had in the past where I've raised thousands of dollars, I had to go and find out where it was and the dollar amount that they gave to this company or that company. No one's just going to tell you that information. So you have to do your research. That has been my experience. And once I find out, I'm just going to use Nike as an example. I said, okay, Nike, you sponsored Mr. Goods. tournament. You gave him $75,000. I'm asking you for $80,000 because I have a little more to offer. I have younger kids, mine are single parent homes, yada, yada, yada. I would just plead the case on why we need more of the funding versus the zip code that makes for 50,000 or more. I hope that answered your question. No?
Thank you.
You're back?
Oh, Mr. Mills, got the same question.
Yeah. Okay.
Same question.
Thank you, sir.
So I think she brings up a very important point that is a state legislature issue, it's a city council issue, it's a mayoral issue, and it's about building those relationships first and foremost. But let's talk about something we haven't brought up tonight. The school board's budget is $270 million, right? A lot can be done in terms of not needing to go raise more, but how we spend our money a little bit more effectively, how we manage our assets better. I mentioned at the beginning, I've got a 20-year career in business before I got into education. I've started technology companies and raised millions of dollars and overseen those kind of budgets. So I do think fiscal responsibility is important. How about all those schools that are closed, that haven't been sold, that we're not using? Right? We've got to get a plan for our current assets to make sure we're utilizing them effectively, and that right there is going to start to free up money. Now, again, working with the legislature, working with the city council members, and I'm excited to hear what they have to say tonight, is certainly important. But another one that we brought up earlier were public-private partnerships, ways to engage with organizations like the Birmingham Education Foundation and others that have an interest in seeing our kids succeed. We need to bring in resources where we can because we're under-resourced. So we've got to find partners that are willing to invest in a way that's in the best interest of the kids. Does that answer your question? Yes, sir.
And how would you bring the resources in?
Well, I think part of that is existing relationships. I mean, I have good relationships in the business community here. I work with those folks on a day-to-day basis. I've raised money in the past, so yeah, but I mean, that's how I would do it. I would actually go sit down and meet and get them into our schools and understand that our kids are just as good as any kids anywhere else.
And what company would you go through?
Which companies?
Yes.
Well, I think we've got a lot of them that are already investing. I mean, Alabama Power invests, Regions invest. A lot of our large companies here actually are very philanthropic to our schools. But it's making sure that we've got that money and we're utilizing it effectively. You know, one of the things I like to say is, I've got business experience. You can't learn on the job how to manage a $270 million budget. You have to have had some experience with it. And that might be why we got into some trouble in the past.
All right, lady in the nice pretty hat here.
Good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
To both of the candidates, a personal experience. What will you do? My two grandsons went to Oliver Elementary. They transferred to Tennessee. They was AB honor roll students. They went to Tennessee. They dropped down to like 75. So what would you do to make sure the teachers that you all are hiring will teach up to the level that they should be teaching on, rather than doing things they shouldn't do and keeping our kids from being elevated? Because my boys had to go through special assistance in order to get their grades pulled back up in the Tennessee school system. They was on a failing level, but still they was AB honor roll students in Birmingham. So give me an answer what you're going to do to make sure that doesn't happen.
Okay, so, you know, teachers, I've been a public school teacher. They're the most important resource we have. We have some challenges in Alabama with the way the state legislature sets up certification. Hard to bring folks in from the outside and recruit great teachers. But I think the number one way that we fix, I don't want to say fix the problem, because we have outstanding teachers in our system, a lot of them, most of them, is having great leaders at the principal level. Right? We know that the most successful schools, most successful public schools around the country have really strong principals and assistant principals that do more than sit behind a desk and manage paper. They're in the classrooms, they're educating their teachers to make their teachers better, they're figuring out what their weaknesses are. So if we train our principals properly with the right kind of management skills to actually be coaches and do the job of what a manager does in a real business, to make their people better, that's going to make our teachers better, and they're going to know which teachers are the best and which ones they need to spend time with. But I mean, I've been a public school teacher. I didn't see my principal. He came into my office or my classroom maybe 2 times a year. He had no idea what I was doing in there. All right, so we've got to engage principals and make sure we have stability at the principal. We got a lot of turnover there also. All right, when we find great principals, invest in them, keep them there, make them part of that school community, and have them be the evaluators. That's their job.
That's a good answer. Appreciate it.
Ms. Watson.
Yes, it's normal to, if you take a child out of one school, when they attend a new school, that they have to learn a different curriculum. That's kind of a normal situation. I know that for a fact because it happened to me. I had to go. My parents got me a tutor. I went to a different, higher level. And in order to keep up, at that time, just going in, I was automatically behind the curve. But my mom and dad got tutors for me, and I didn't have any pride or shame because at the end of the day, my grades turned out great. It just has to be understood that when you are changing any school system, if you're moving, change comes with it, you know, and keeping up. Even if you join a new skating club, you gotta learn how to skate faster than the other people. I'm sorry? Yes,
I moved my children from one school system to another. They didn't have that problem. And I've experienced watching some of the teachers now. If you all become board members, this is one thing I would like. The supervisors over the teachers and the principals should be accurate. They should be on top of their job as well, because this is not happening in Birmingham City School. I'm talking from experience.
I understand you, but it is my understanding that the superintendent is in charge of the teachers. And then when she gives her platform or her agenda, then it's up to the board to approve or disapprove. But I understand your concern, I honestly do. Any other question?
The lady over here on the side.
Can either of you speak about the difference between startup charters and conversion charters? Because I've been hearing about with conversion charter schools there being an appointed board that's not accountable to the voters, and whether you'd be for or against conversion charters.
So as I understand it, conversion charter schools are taking an existing school and actually kind of taking it over and bringing in new management to kind of run it, versus a startup charter school. I don't have thoughts one way or the other. I've been reading a lot about conversion charter schools on some of the boards. I'm not that familiar with them. Any charters that I've ever been involved with or seen have been the startup where they start with one classroom with a small number of kids. So I hate to tell you, I can't speak that much to it. But I'll just reiterate what I kind of said at the beginning. It would be easy to come up here and just tell you I'm anti-charter. That's what everybody wants to hear. I can't in good faith do that because we're in a dogfight here. All right, we're leaving behind an entire generation of kids, and if somebody brings a proposal to the board that looks good, I'm going to have faith in my skills to evaluate. If it looks like it can benefit kids, I'm going to look at it. All right, I'm just not going to get up here with a litmus test. That said, as I said at the beginning, our goal #1 is to strengthen the schools that we already have. So I know that doesn't fully answer it because I'm just not that familiar with conversion schools, but that's kind of where I stand on that.
Your question was conversion school versus
Startups.
startup schools. Okay, again, charter schools work in their place. However, for the Birmingham school system, the existing Birmingham school system, I don't think they have a place as of yet. That's not to say tomorrow they won't be ready, but as it is today, I don't think the Birmingham school system is ready. It could come 2-3 years. Because again, I've known people who have done pretty well in a charter school. Question?
Okay, we had one lady in the back. I saw your hand go up first, and then we'll take you, ma'am. Go one and then two.
I have a question regarding the textbook situation that's currently going on in schools. It's my understanding that there are classrooms that don't have textbooks at all. I'd like to hear what you both have to say about what we can do to get that done.
The question is, what can we do about the lack of quality textbooks in the classroom?
Textbooks in the classrooms, that's supposed to be a basic. Yes, I think that's supposed to be basic, and if I'm not mistaken, that is in the budget.
But it's not.
It's not in the budget? Textbooks are not in the budget?
They don't have textbooks everywhere.
So in other words, you're saying it is in the budget, but the kids don't have the textbooks?
That's what's my understanding. That people, I've heard people say that their kids have to make copies of things, or teachers make copies, and not every student has a current textbook.
I'm not sure I've heard this before. I thought, I was under the impression that all kids had textbooks. Now, I do know that as a parent, I've had to purchase out-of-pocket textbooks for my child. So that's just what I became accustomed to. But it was just to my understanding. I'm sorry?
Everybody can't afford to buy kids' books.
Everyone can't afford to buy kids' books. There are a variety of programs out there. Honestly, there are. Google it.
Everybody ain't got kids.
Everybody has a library
Okay,
near you.
we're not gonna get out of order.
Honestly,
So
you have a library. That's what the public libraries are used for.
Let's ask the question this way. Hypothetically speaking, if there is money in the budget for every student in Birmingham City Schools to have a textbook, what can you all as candidates do to assure that every child has a textbook in their hand? It's first day of school.
First day of school, if it's brought to our attention, we would need to talk with the superintendent. I believe that should be our first move and get her to roll that ball. Because primarily we support what she brings to the table. We can't create our own agendas, although we would like to. I know I would. So that's it for me.
Okay,
Thank you.
Mr. Millsap, same question.
We're going to get the textbooks. I mean, that sounds like a really simple answer, but I'm not aware of this situation either and where it's happening. Make us aware of it, which part of that is making sure as a school board we're not sitting there, separated from what's happening in the rest of the district. It means we know what's happening in our schools. We have relationships with our principals, assistant principals, and teachers. So when it's brought to our attention, we remedy the problem. We find the money in the budget and we take care of it. Kids need to have the basic stuff. I mean, that's the low-hanging fruit, right? If there aren't textbooks in the class, we'll find it. We'll find the money for that. That's fiscal management. That's easy.
All right, we had one more lady over here. We'll take this as our last question for the school board members.
Yes, I know we're talking about the funding, education. They're talking about bringing paddling the students again inside the school system. How do you feel about paddling the students?
What are your thoughts on corporal punishment?
Absolutely against it. It took place in my school where I taught. I thought it was horrible. I don't think there's any place in the school for it. I think we bring too much violence to our kids, and it's not the right way to discipline kids. Listening to them, talking to them, understanding their problems, that works. I've seen it. Build relationships. Understand the problems they have at home. Don't go up and just start whacking a kid. That ain't going to fix anything. It's not. And we don't need to bring more violence into the schools, so I'm 100% against it.
Ms. Watson.
I'm sorry, paddling in the school system. I just don't think that it's a parent's position to have to paddle someone else's child. I think that if paddling is required, if it's required, it needs to take place at home. That's a homebound issue. I'm not supporting paddling your child. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying when people send your child to school, send them in a disciplinary manner so that the teacher will not have to even think twice about paddling. That wouldn't even come up and it wouldn't come up because the parent at home has already gone through the ABCs and 1, 2, 3s, the do's and don'ts, what not to take to school. I know my parents did. My mom was very clear. If I have to come over that mountain looking for you, run. So I didn't have to concern myself with paddling stuff maybe one time, but that was it. Did I answer your question?
I guess so. All right, we're going to go and give you guys 2 minutes each to give a closing statement and your kind of final pitch, and then we'll take a 5-minute break to let council candidates come up. So, Mr. Millsap, you go ahead, and Ms. Watson, 2 minutes each.
Well, thank you all for showing up tonight. It's nice to see this room almost fully packed. I'm really sad that the rest of the 6 other candidates aren't here with us tonight. I would have enjoyed a little bit more discussion on some of these issues to see where they stand. As I said at the beginning, I bring a very unique experience to this. 20 years as a business leader, as a successful entrepreneur and as a public school teacher, and now as a public school professor, where I teach entrepreneurship and innovation. I understand how to manage large budgets. I understand what innovation actually means in the schools and how to foster innovation, which is something we need to be looking at. And I'm excited. I'm excited because I think the opportunity in Birmingham City is unlimited. The kids have the potential. The leadership has been failing them. We know that kids anywhere can learn. We've just got to give them the tools and the resources. And so I hope that you guys will entrust me on August 22nd with your vote. I'll be around afterwards. I'd look forward to chatting one-on-one with any of you. So with that, I just say thank you. Appreciate letting me be here tonight.
Ms. Watson.
Thank you. And again, my name is Angela Scoggins Watson. That's Angela Scoggins Watson. Think of an angel, no relation, but that will help you remember my name. I am the children's advocate. I will work for the children of the city of Birmingham school system. I have a great deal of talent that I can bring to the table. I am a product of the Birmingham school system initially, and then St. Paul's Elementary, John Carroll High School, Birmingham Southern College, and the Birmingham Police Academy. So I have a wide range of expertise. And I'm also a camp director and private investigator, so you choose. I deal with children on a consistent basis. I have my annual camps, Camp Scoggins. The last one was a couple days ago. I had 85 kids. Can you imagine? Literally, 85 kids. And so, getting back to the paddling, when kids act out in my camp, I don't ever have to even think about paddling. They understand the this and that because I announce before the camp begins, is it fair that if I point my finger to you and point to the chair, you go and sit in it without any rebuttal? And then I repeat that again and I say, is that fair? And I make them shake their hand and say, is that fair? And they say, that's fair. So I had 2 kids at my last camp and I just had to point my finger. Won't have any more problems. So again, I am running for District 5 school board seat. I'm asking for your prayers, your support, and or your donation. Angela Scoggins Watson, your school board, District Seat 5. Thank you.
We would like to thank the school board candidates for coming. Folks, we're going to take a 5-minute break and get set up for the council candidates. Council candidates, if you could make your way to the front, please.